Yeah. Is the chat box disabled or something?
No, it's enabled, and then there are some notes coming in. Great to meet my fellow Toastmaster. Okay, thank you, DTM Shilpa. Great to meet you too. DTM Ahmad Rizvi says measuring club strengths and weaknesses. Toastmaster Sangeeta says reflecting on our feelings of being a Toastmaster. D. Reynolds, problems or difficulties. Abhijit Roy says to know about the realities faced in club meetings, challenges and protocols followed, and then to be discussed on those points as a whole team.
Great. So, well, all what you said is correct in its own right. It's all correct. There's nothing wrong about it. And this is what, if you see the chat box now, you can see different perceptions of moments of truth. So everybody's correct. The mission is the same, to bring up the club quality. Now, why do we really care about bringing up the club quality? Let us look at this with the perspective of our current members. How do they feel being in a club? Do they have that sense of belonging? And let us also understand the perception of past members who have left the club. Why they might have left the club? Is it probably they wanted to migrate to another country, or they might have seen some other club giving them more better sense of belonging, more quality oriented meetings, positive evaluations, or I would say constructive evaluation. And now we also need to see the perspective of our guest. And that's something very, very important. Now you see, this is what many big companies, they do. They do some surveys to understand what are these needs of people. Will their products sell in this particular area or in this particular zone? They have to understand what people are going through, what they are looking for. And this is why Moments of Truth is one of those modules where the perspective of the guest is very much important. We really need to understand, what does guest who attends your meeting thinks about you, about the club, Toastmaster International in general. You see, so how much positive pressure are we carrying on our shoulders about Moments of Truth? It might just sound like a workshop. It happens always. Many people do it. So what? But when we really understand how much efforts Toastmasters International has put into Moments of Truth, designing these modules, I personally, being a Toastmaster from long time, I haven't come across such a tested software or application which we can apply to advanced clubs, corporate clubs, community clubs, and certainly modify and check the workplace, the work environment at our workplace, for example. So it has given me a lot of ideas to take from always, whenever I've heard Moments of Truth or even delivered it as a workshop. So let's see what Toastmasters tells about Moments of Truth. A Moment of Truth is an episode where a person comes in contact with any aspect of the Toastmasters experience and forms an impression of a club's quality and service. Now, as I was saying, it's more of a perspective of what an outsider thinks of our club. Now, that outsider is mostly a non-Toastmaster, but do not be mistaken. Sometimes even a Toastmaster, even a past Toastmaster maybe, might want to come back and reignite their quest for public speaking, their quest for leadership, and want to join your club probably. And they are just testing their grounds. They're testing the waters. Should they join this club or they shouldn't join this club? So it's very important. Now, have you ever experienced such a thing? It doesn't matter how your club performs. It really doesn't matter. But the moment when you go to another club, you really have that eagle's eye on observing everything. And then you make a judgment, good, bad, the ugly. And if you are called to give a feedback, you really give them those points. But does all those points really your own club applies to it? Have you been in that kind of situation? You see, there was a time where one of my clubs wasn't performing so good. I went to another club, and it's very easy to give critics. So when they called me to speak, this was many years back, I had a list of things where they could improve upon. Later that night, when I went out of the club meeting, I sat in my car and I was thinking for a long time that all what I said today was so rude, but my own club doesn't apply all this. You know, so it's a matter of giving critics, it's a matter of showing off, but it applies to every club because we all want members to come in the club. If it is a corporate club, we want more and more staff to join the corporate club. So this is a tool given to us by Toastmasters International. It's very handy. Here, you know, take it, that kind of bonus which we are getting in this program. We have these 6 points laid out, and I'm sure if you haven't heard about moments of truth before, which I doubt, but there might be people in the audience who might be new members. So I can promise these new members one thing, that by the end of this session, all the 6 points will convince you to believe that if we apply all this to our clubs, that's it. Our club is going to be one of the top-notch club in the area, maybe in the division, and probably in the district, who knows. But we have to strive to make sure we achieve all this. Now, the first point is first impression, as you see. Second, membership orientation, fellowship, variety and communication, program planning and meeting organization, membership strength, achievement recognition. When I was talking to our VP Education, Farhaz, he was asking me, do you have the slides? I did have the official slides, but what I told him, I'm trying to make something of my own because these slides are from Toastmasters International. They have been used, or they are being used so many times. But as an immediate past region advisor, when I personally go as a guest in different meetings, and I compare it to the moments of truth, it's a big question mark. It's like grammarian and counter report. So many things are kind of lacking intentionally or unintentionally. I'm sure Toastmasters miss out things unintentionally. No Toastmaster does mistakes intentionally. So here is my first tip of the day. I would recommend, just like a counter or grammarian, why not the general evaluator, especially for advanced clubs, have a report, make 6 people and let them report about first impression just for 2 minutes. Another person gets up and reports about achievement recognition. But you will have to do some homework. You will have to go to the club status on the dashboard and see, did some members achieve level 1, level 2? You see, and then come back and make your report. Did they recognize these members? Or if you heard of that club having participated in an area contest recently, you as a member know who are the winners. Did the club president or VP Education recognize those winners? So do your homework. So you can keep one meeting with person who is going to give a report on membership orientation. It doesn't have to be all 6 in all meetings. Choose one night, one officer with 2 roles who can speak about membership strength, program planning for the day. Or if you don't want to invest that much of time, you have a very tight agenda. Next time when you are the general evaluator, I would recommend you can go ahead and do this exercise to cover all the points of moments of truth in your meeting. So this will be something amazing, and I would love to see that happening. If I really have time, I would attend and watch this segment, because this is the first time ever I'm giving such a tip after doing a lot of workshops on moments of truth. Now let us go with the first one. This is what first impression is all about. You can read it, you can take a screenshot. It's about greeting the guest. It's about having a guest book and the name tags. Now, some things have surely changed because of COVID-19 era that we are living in. So this is Toastmasters module. I couldn't go and do some copyright violation by changing things. All I could make things in bold. So in the chat quickly, because timer has no mercy on anyone. So quickly in the chat, guest book and name tags. How are you going to change it due to COVID-19 and virtual meetings? Please share your ideas. So if I'm saying guest book, we can't have a guest book in a physical guest book in a virtual meeting. So what's your idea? What will you do to replace guest book and the name tags also? Okay, we have an online guest book, good. Okay, for the name tags, the Surgeon at Arms changes, that's by Reynolds. Have a process of naming, Sangeeta says that. Zahra says they can write their comments in the chat and we can publish it on social media accounts. Wonderful ideas. You see, so this is what a club XCOM should come together, and Anand says participants note, very good. So now this is what we can do. We can come and the XCOM can come together and come up with ideas to how to make it interesting for the guests to feel special. The Surgeon at Arms can change their names or add a prefix, as the president of Mahindra Toastmasters is saying. Okay, so come up with these ideas. What fits your club culture? Professionally arranged meeting room. Now, that's not possible because we have a virtual environment. So now your club XCOM needs to understand how professionally you can manage your Zoom virtual meeting room, your GoToWebinar virtual room, your net meetings. There are many platforms which you might be using. Zoom is, of course, the most famous one. So you have to understand, is the chat closed when prepared speakers are speaking, when evaluators are giving their evaluation? Should the chat box be open? Are the co-host members who won't be able to vote for the best speakers? Is that all thought about? Is all that arranged? So that's very important points, which we might just let it go in the beginning. But I'm sure by now, we being in the virtual environment are very much ready. So convenient meeting location. Now, just because it's Zoom meeting, we cannot do it anytime. We have to ask club members before changing the meeting time. Just because it's on Zoom, we cannot just send a WhatsApp message. Can we delay it by 15 minutes, half an hour, unless it's voted upon in a business session. So just because it's virtual, we cannot treat it as a small thing, because when guests are invited to your meeting who are not part of that WhatsApp group, they shouldn't be affected, because nobody might have told them that the meeting is going to begin after 15-20 minutes. So guests invited to address the club, guests invited to join. That's very much clear. Now quickly, since there are 6 points, I'll go to the next slide, but before I go to the next slide, let's take a small quiz. Who do you think is kind of responsible for point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which you see in your screen? Who is that officer who is supposed to drive this. Now, again, this is not mentioned in any Toastmasters book that movements of through this area should be taken care of by this officer. This is just my opinion. It's just my experience here. I can think of easily who can be responsible. There are some points in the officer's handbook, in your club leadership handbook, where I can say, yes, this officer is very much responsible for this area. But again, for some, it's not a must. It's just an idea. Okay, point number one, guest greeted, membership, sergeant at arms, president. What about point number two? Virtual book, virtual notes, name tag. So please send in your answers. Professionally arrange the meeting room. Okay, good. Sergeant at arms. Convenient meeting location. That's in a virtual environment, you would call it a proper Zoom environment, proper virtual environment. The sergeant at arms tells everybody to mute their mics, puts in some house rules. So that comes under this place. So there are different answers coming in. VP membership would ask the guest to join the club, for example. So let's have a look at this slide. Point 3 and 4, sergeant at arms. 3 and 4, sergeant at arms. Okay, good. So let's look at this. This is what my findings are. I'm sure you can take the screenshot. You can add more officers to it. You can have a club XCOM meeting and distribute these roles among different officers. So by no means I'm saying these are the only people who are responsible for it alone. No, but some of them do come up to some officer's office where they are responsible to drive these. So for the first one, according to the club leadership handbook, it is the sergeant at arms and president. The rest are mostly sergeant at arms. Guest invited to address the club, it's the president, because the president is chairing the event, probably after the presidential address or before the presidential address. After announcement of the results, we can ask the guests to speak, give their feedback, and guests invited to join. The driving force is VP membership, but of course, all members are responsible equally to bring in more members. Okay, so let's go to the next point. Membership orientation. I'll just be a little quick as I go because I see the green already. Okay, membership orientation. This is again, I'll just read the key points. Any new member should be formally inducted, should be voted in. Sometimes before it was very common once upon a time. Now it's less common, but it is still happening. People just fill in the membership forms, they pay the treasurer, and they are members of the club. And then we have the assignment of a mentor. It's very important. Now, sometimes DTMs like me, I would be shy to come and say, can you give me a mentor? Because I'm very new in Pathways. So I've done the traditional program many times with or without credit, but I haven't done Pathways. It's my first experience. So if someone did Pathways, I would be happy to be mentored. Why not? You see, so here is where I get a lot of help from my VP education, Farhaz, from my good friend Shilpa Reddy, who helps me with Pathways. So, and it's all okay because we can reach out to people. Education programs, recognition system. I'm in a majlis where there are a lot of guests coming in due to Eid. I just told them, please, can you give me an opportunity to speak? You see moments of truth applied at home. Education programs, recognition. Okay, so these are some very important points for new members. Are we discussing the programs with them? Did we talk to them? What's their basic aim when they join Toastmasters? Do they want to become the world champion of public speaking? I have heard few times somebody telling me that I want to become the next Muhammad al-Gahtani of Arabia. So can you please make me speak like him? I've had one person saying, I want to be the next Dhananjaya, one of the most famous world champions. I want to be Lance Miller. Some people just want to hit the leadership track. So ask them, what's your goal in Toastmasters? Maybe we cannot give them the whole solution, but we surely can help them get through some of the modules and pathways which would prepare them for it. Maybe I'm a very introvert person by nature, and I have no problem saying it. So for me, I have picked strategic relationships where I can do things to break that introvert thing in me. And I'm a person who does his job and then disappears. I don't socialize at times. So this is one reason why I took strategic relationships. And here is where, if there are people who are suffering from any kind of depression, anxiety, I know a member who had a high blood pressure issue and one member who had very much to the borderline diabetes, which makes the member feels very upset. Even on an evaluation, the member would get very upset. And some strange or some new people who come in, they would be shocked. What's wrong with this guy? Why is this guy so upset? Then I have to explain to them, he's my mentee and he has very high diabetes. When that shoots up, he gets upset. So we all know about it. You see, so this is very important, membership orientation in your club. Don't ignore the members, whether new or old members. Make sure they are assigned their slots very well in time, very well coordinated so they don't feel ignored. Members involved in club activities, very important. It goes without the saying. Some people might say, you see, I don't want to speak every time. So maybe you can give them other roles, evaluator. And I've been a person who didn't do my pathways projects for a very long time because of my leadership in the district, in the region level. I don't have time to prepare, but I can give keynotes for 40 minutes, but I can't sit and make 5 to 7 minute speech because when I do that, I always get timed out. So I just gave up. Now I'm coming back to it. Here is where membership orientation. So again, for each point, let us see the answers since yellow is on already. This is what I think. You can take a screenshot of who can contribute more for each point. Maybe you might feel there are certainly more officers who can contribute. It's all okay. Fine, you can talk to your excom, you can sit down together and more people can take charge of these. Maybe if not the excom, some members can come up and say, in membership orientation, that particular point, I can take charge of that, to watch that point, to evaluate it throughout the year. Next point, fellowship, variety and communication. Now, sense of belonging is a very important thing. If I don't feel the sense of belonging in my own club or a place where I visit, I don't feel good, I'm not going to come back again. So some points are repeated. Guests must be greeted warmly. Meeting should be enjoyable, educational, but shouldn't cross the line and become some zoo kind of meeting where people forget seriousness during business sessions, and new members or the guests might think, oh, in Toastmasters, everything goes. It's more of a laughter's club. Shouldn't end up to that, but have fun. That's fine. Schedule social events, because for some people, Toastmasters, like for me, I don't have any other organization to go to. I simply stick to Toastmasters. And here is only the place where I get to socialize. So you can have more social events for people like me in Toastmasters because we don't have anywhere else to go. Participation in, don't force, but motivate your members to take part in area, district, international events if they want to. In inter-club events, write an article in club newsletter and so on. Let's go to, in the previous point, I didn't, it was everybody's responsibility together. It was not about just one officer. So let's come to program planning and meeting organizing. You see, moments of truth, that's a very important point. So please take note. We spoke about the guest. We spoke about prospect members. And now we are slowly shifting to making sure that these members don't leave Toastmasters. So we had new members. Now we are talking about retention and sustainability of your club. You see, we are moving from where to where. So now we are leaving the guest little bit now, and we are going to retention and sustainability. Okay, so this is where the VP education, the club XCOM, the members can make sure the agenda is where everybody participated, or as much as members possible participated. Try your best to make manual projects. Do not make projects. At times it's okay, but do not make projects which are not credited, which are just for the sake of speaking it's there. A project must be where people can benefit. Like today, Moments of Truth, I'm in touch with my VP education, and I said, as my personal pathways guru, Shilpa, I bother her a lot with my VP education on what to do where. Okay. So here it is, meeting begins and ends on time. That goes without saying. Creative table topics. Now do not cross the line to make table topics so creative that people get so mad that this is complex. Okay, so make it creative, not complex, positive and helpful evaluations. That's very important. Please take a screenshot of this, and I'm going to go show you the next slide where I personally feel which officer can contribute on in which area. So let's look at this. Program and the agenda publicized in advance. Now, why did I put Sergeant at Arms? Because someday, hopefully soon, we go back to, it will be still new normal, but when we go to the physical meetings, the Sergeant at Arms can distribute the agenda on time, not coming late to the meeting and distributing it later. And here is the PRM who can take the agenda from VP Education, circulate it around, and meeting begins and ends on time. It's not just the job of the XCOM officer, the master of ceremonies, the general evaluator, table topic master, the timer. The VP Education can talk to all of them to make sure it finishes on time. So these are my opinion. This is my opinion on where which role player or XCOM officer can help. This is membership strength. Once again, I didn't put any officer's name here because I felt this is everybody's job in a way to increase membership, promoting your club digitally on your club website, social media, or the district website. So this is very much important because membership building programs help your club to get that challenge, because sometimes you become very passive. The more membership building programs you have, it's better. For example, in one of my clubs long time back, we had the blue team and the red team. Who brings more members, the blue team or the red team? End of the year, they are recognized. You see, so that's how it's very important. Membership building programs. Please take a screenshot of this. Then we have the achievement, which is the last slide. Sorry, timer, I'll just finish this quickly. Achievement recognition is very important. Make sure it's filed on time with the world headquarters. The progress chart are displayed. Now you have to figure out in a Zoom environment, how will you display this chart? Maybe you could send it through the chat to your audience or your members, okay? Or it can be a virtual background of the VP Education, the progress chart. So that will encourage members. So use DCP for planning and recognition, of course. Recognize your club members who have taken part in events. So please take a screenshot, and I'm just going to show who can be responsible for each one of them. So you can see this here. There is VP Education for us. Can you push in the file in the chat box, or let me try doing this? Do you have the handbook with you for?
I can share it in the chat box if I can if I locate the file. The handbook book is, you're talking about the leadership handbook, is it?
No, it's the handbook of moments of truth.
I have that. I can push it in. I will do that.
Okay, okay. Because I don't want to waste time looking for it now since my time is up. You have to now go back and see with your club XCOM and let your club XCOM present this to your club members, that where do they stand when it comes to all these 6 points. Okay, you never get a second chance to make the first impression. Now, can everybody just open the handbook? Is it pushed in already?
1 minute, please, sir. 1 minute. Just a minute, please.
Okay. Any questions meanwhile? I think I got the handbook somewhere here. Okay, while our club VP education, DTM Farhaz, is sharing the handbook, I'll just show it to you on the screen. In the handbook, you can measure your club. You can tick, you can make in the XCOM meeting from points 1 to 5, say 5 being the best, on where does your club stands. And you can probably present it to your club. And there is no, you shouldn't feel shy, even if you got a 0 in that point or a 1. It's okay, because it's not the officer alone, it's not the president, it's not the VP membership or the PR who is responsible. The club members must help their clubs, their club to grow. So it's a contribution from everybody. So please fill in this later, see where your club stands, okay? As I was saying, you can either just tick it if you are doing it or go for the levels which is mentioned here. I believe it is shared already. Yeah, thank you. Okay, the club president and VP education has shared it. Thank you very much for having me here. And 40 minutes just passed so quick. So that was good. Actual moments of workshop is an hour or more. So we had a crash course, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Over to you, VP education or the president or the MC. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you so much, DTM Ali. And yes, you're right. The time just passed. We have allocated, or we had allocated 10 minutes for Q&A after your presentation. So what we'll do is we'll reduce that to 5, because at the end of the program, we have another 15 minutes discussion session. So maybe any follow-up questions we could do on that. If any of the participants have questions, please feel free to show it. You can type it out on the chat, or if you raise your hands, we could perhaps, get you a chance to ask questions. But whilst we are waiting for some questions to come in, DTM Ali, maybe if you permit me, I could ask you one question, please, to start things off. I have actually noted down 3 things, but I'll probably just ask one of them. You were speaking about the educational aspects of our meetings and then the social aspect of our meeting. And of course, Dr. Ralph Smedley has said we learn best in moments of enjoyment. So we try to bring both of these elements together. My question is, if we were to organize an education session in a completely social surrounding, like let's say in a beachside or in a picnic area, and we of course would, let's say we invite guests, how appropriate is it that we have also seriousness in this meeting, as in have a business session and parliamentary procedures? Just a bit of tips on that.
See, we have done this years back. I still remember. We actually had a beach cleaning exercise. Our club had a beach cleaning exercise. So what we decided, we won't have 5 to 7 minute speeches, but we made a circle around the beach and we had table topics with the guests who were in that circle. we had this 2 to 3 minutes of appreciation projects where people could deliver and evaluator gave the evaluation at the same time. And then we had certain house rules. While you clean the beach, you should make sure everybody is supposed to bring their own plastic bag, make sure they put everything in, okay? Clean the beach instead of dumping things there. So we made that house rules, and the person who was heading this made it as his HPL. So here is where we can embed lot of projects that was in the traditional path, which was harder kind of thing. So we embedded a lot of things in social events. We still can do that. But of course, 5 to 7 minute speech wouldn't be possible in a noisy environment. So we have to come up with something less than 5 minutes where people can deliver, but we can do a lot of leadership projects, especially in pathways. There are so many of them that we can finish it off this way. You see, my personal pathways mentors always tells me that you being a region advisor could finish all paths. Now, when I chase VP Education for Haas, I'm trying to recall, I've done this, I've done X, Y, Z already, but I didn't do anything about it. I never gave a before and after speech about it. I've moderated like from past 15 months, 50 plus calls with different region leaders from Middle East, from Africa, but I have no more evidence about it. You see, I never even recorded some of those calls. So it's my mistake. I lost a good opportunity. So to answer your question once again, any social event, you can credit it. Take the challenge to credit it somewhere. And this is what we should do in Toastmasters, right? Take our learnings to apply it outside.
Thank you so much, DTM Ali, and I guess that's all the time we have for the Q&A. And so maybe we will stop the session and the Q&A for now. But if you could stick around, I know you're a very busy man and you have guests around the place and you're trying to implement moments of truth with your guests as well. But there is a there is a discussion session at the end of the program, and if you can maybe perhaps stick around or come back at that time, there may be a few follow-up questions from our participants which we could perhaps throw to you, please. So thank you so much.
I will try doing that. There is another event happening in District 20 at 5 p.m. So I'll try my best.
Please do. We will. Thank you so much. We would appreciate it. But of course, we understand your busy schedule. So please, a big round of applause to our previous presenter, DTM Ali Shahbaz Ali. Thank you so much. Thanks for this great presentation and a good refresher on everything. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a small change in the order of speakers because there was a request by the third speaker if he could go last because he's also involved in some other meeting. And our third speaker, scheduled third speaker, has agreed. As always, he's Mr. Ever Ready. So I really thank him for taking up and jumping in. Thank you so much, sir. Let me give a very quick introduction of our third speaker. He is a motivational speaker. He's a triple crown winner in 2019-2020, division table topics champion in 2020, first runner-up. He says he's being very modest. I'm sure he's much better than that. And then his area evaluation contest winner as well, 2019. He's currently the president of a friendly club that I have had the honor and privilege of attending meetings as well, Khargar Toastmasters, which is in District 98. I am talking about my good friend, Toastmaster Abhijit Roy. Over to you, sir, to tell us about resolving conflict. Big round of applause.
Thank you so much, DTM Farhaz Farooq, for that wonderful gesture. And good evening and salam alaikum to all the fellow members and Toastmasters and my dear friends of Bar and Advanced Toastmasters Club and all the guests who have joined in. Happy Eid to start with to all of you. I would just quickly like to share my screen. Okay, so my session today would revolve around resolving conflict. Now, I can have a quick interaction in terms of chat of what people do think about what conflict is all about. You can share in your thoughts, your ideas on the group chat so that I also get to know that it is it that we all understand what exactly means by conflict. So people can share their own views of what do you feel by the word conflict. Disagreements, misunderstandings. That's right. Any more? Disputes, fights, opportunities for exploring any issues in different ways. Well. Different opinions. Everyone is absolutely right. Conflict is first and foremost, we need to understand one thing about conflict. Conflict is universal. Now, if you step up and stand and say that I never had a conflict ever in my life, then probably you never faced somebody in your life in front of you, or you are lying. Conflicts happen everywhere, at every instant and every phase of our lives. That is something, as I said, conflict is universal. Now we will, part of webinar session, will understand of what conflict is and how to resolve conflict. We'll also understand the different types of conflicts and the different methods of resolving conflicts. As I asked in the very first instant of what we understand by conflict, and there were so many people with so many different views and ideas of what conflict is, and everybody had their versions, which is absolutely right. Nobody was wrong in their ways of defining what conflict is, but this is how I take it. Conflict is a normal, inescapable part of life. You cannot escape from conflicts. Conflict can happen at your own house, with your family members, with your spouse, with your kids, with your parents. Conflict can also happen at your workplace. Could be with your colleagues, could be your peers, could be your manager, even could be with the CEO of the company. Conflict can happen even in Toastmasters, where is part of the XCOM, because the president may have a different opinion, the VP education or the VP membership may have a different opinion, or per se, the club members can have a different opinion. So whenever there is a difference of opinion for different members, as we all can know, then there is an element of conflict. So it is a normal, inescapable part of life. We cannot escape out of it. A periodic occurrence in any relationships. As I said, be it at office, be it anywhere, even in the ground, where you're playing with your friends, when you're at work, when you're part of your family, this happens every single time. And you cannot identify, you cannot gauge, or when is this going to happen? It can happen at any point of time. You have a thought, you share it, the person in front of you may not agree. There's a conflict. You have a proposal to be given in front of the management. Management disagrees. There's a conflict, right? An opportunity to understand opposing preferences and values. That's also true. Why? It's because I, as a person, I know that I have a different perspective of looking the things way it should be. But my fellow Toastmasters who are sitting right in front of me, they might have different preferences. So what happens? I get an opportunity, as well as you all get an opportunity to understand of our each other's preferences and values, or when there's a conflict. Disagreement about ideas and approaches. When there is a slight disagreement of thoughts, of behaviors, of different opinions, then there is a conflict. So all in all, a conflict occurs when two or more parties perceive, please note, perceive. A conflict occurs when two or more parties perceive that they have mutually incompatible values, priorities, or goals. A conflict will never happen if there is involvement of one single person. Why would that? If you clap, there are two hands associated. If you do a handshake, you cannot do a handshake with just single hand. There are two hands to be involved in it. So a conflict also occurs when there are two parties perceive, when they have that opinion, have that view of mutually incompatible values, priorities, and goals. Now, let me ask you, what exactly is defined as conflict resolution? We understood what exactly conflict means, and people did share a lot about their ideas, their views of what conflict is. Now, how do you define conflict resolution? How do you resolve conflict? What do you mean by that? Can we have messages on chat about the opinions? Well, let me tell you, repeat your query. Okay, come to an agreement. The query was, what do you mean by resolving a conflict? How do you resolve a conflict? Or what does exactly resolution of finding a conflict means? Coming to an agreement, meeting of minds, amicable settlement, paraphrase. Well, again, every single person sitting in this forum has their own views and all are absolutely right. Win-win situation. What happens in a conflict resolution? What we do as individuals or as a team is to identify and address a conflict in a matured and respectful way. How do you resolve? You talk, you improvise, you discuss, and then seek a common understanding where both of them, the both parties or more than two parties, where more than two parties are involved, everyone comes to a common understanding, respecting each other's opinion and views. Once that happens, any conflict arises of the situation is resolved. Now I'll go on to the definition of types of conflict. What are the types of conflict? Contentious personalities, misunderstanding, issues, and styles of leadership. Now, how do you define contentious personalities? Can anybody share? What do you mean by the first point, contentious personalities? Well, let me explain. Negative to everything, okay, fair enough. I will explain you what exactly this means. Like, I am an Indian national. My fellow members are probably even from Sri Lanka, from Bahrain, from Kuwait. They are different nationalities. They have been born and brought up in different kinds of cultures. So the upbringing, the cultural values, the kind of environment you have been born and brought up will make you a different person altogether. So the way I consider things to be, it may not be the same way where a person who is either from a different country or from a different region will have the same kind of an opinion. So the personalities, if two different people are from two different traits, two different areas or regions or countries, then the knowledge, the ideas, the thoughts which you share amongst each other will certainly vary. I am not telling you that it is always the same. However, there are times wherein there will be difference of opinions. And in such cases, these type of conflicts are called as contentious personalities. Misunderstandings. Yes, I made a statement. Now, the people or the person who is sitting right in front of me do not understand. The message which I wanted to deliver has not been conveyed properly to the person right sitting in front of me. What happens? Misunderstanding. If the person right across me has not able to grasp what I wanted to convey, there will be an area of misunderstanding, and there is a very strong element that there will be a conflict because of that. Issues. I put forward a case, my colleague puts forward another case on the table. The third person puts another case on the table. There are 3 different cases for finding out a solution to one common problem. What happens? 3 individuals, 3 different ideas achieve one purpose. Obvious, there will be conflict because I may not agree to my colleague may not agree to the third person. Then there is issues building up because all the 3 of us have come across with 3 different ways of understanding, the 3 different approaches. Then styles of leadership. Now we all know, we have studied that in our pathways journey, that we have autocratic way of leadership, we have democratic way of leadership, and we have laissez-faire, freestyle way of leadership. In autocratic, you all know, a human or a leader behaves in a way whereas he commands. He does not let his colleagues or subordinates take the lead. He commands the entire overall, you can say, the program. He takes the ownership. Obviously, there will be an element of conflict because there is no way out. The subordinates or the team members are able to share their own views. In a democratic way, whereas there is an opinion of both ways, teamwork is involved, there will be a lot of team members sharing their important thoughts on a common forum. When that happens, different opinions, there will be different people around sharing their own views, own thoughts, again, an element of conflict. Third, the laissez-faire, freestyle. I, as a leader, give a free hand to all my team members. Do whatever you feel like. Behave the way you want to. Come up with results if you want to. So there's no ownership, no teamwork. People are all scattered. It seems as if it's like cattle. People are just straying around here and there. At the end, what happens? Again, an element of conflict. So the 4 types of conflict are contentious personalities, misunderstandings, issues, and different styles of leadership. Now we will understand of how are the methods of resolving conflicts. First time, ignore it. Don't even bother. If you feel there's something which will hindrance, which will stop, just ignore. That is one of the best ways. And that is the reason why it is at number 1. Just ignore it. Don't even fall into that trap. Smooth it over. Point number 2. If you feel that you and your colleague have a conflict, sit down. Be calm, compose. Discuss. What happens? You have an opinion. I have an opinion. Let's calm down and discuss. That is one more area where you can resolve conflict. Force, autocratic style. You have difference of opinion, doesn't matter. I have authority. I have power, and you are going to listen to me. That is how you are forcing, you are incorporating your own leadership, your autocratic behavior of leadership into it. That is how also you are able to resolve conflict. Because if I am the sole owner, if I have all the power to command, I don't let people to even make their judgments, even share their opinions, and even if their views. In a way, what happens? conflicts, there's no conflict because people are not even able to give their own share, their own views. Then we come across compromise. Yes, I know my point is not very strong. So what do? I, as a member, agree to what my fellow members have stated. Then we come across is collaborate. My friend, you have a point and I do as well. So what we can do, we have a goal to achieve. So let's do one thing. Let's associate. Let's work as a team. Let's collaborate. Let 1 + 2 make 3. So that's a numeric way of making the thing understand. But what I'm trying to make the audience, you audience, understand is when 2 or more people associate together in a positive way, they collaborate to achieve a common goal, there is a way where you can resolve conflicts. And this exactly same goes even in Toastmasters. Now, I will take you how you facilitate collaboration when I talked about one aspect of resolution of conflict. Collaborate. Find out the root cause of the conflict. If you are an individual, if you want to take in the ownership, if you want to be a step in as a leader, you need to find out what exactly is the root cause. What is the problem of why the conflict has arisen? Find out that. Allow the participants to express their views. Be a democratic leader. Let all the members in the forum who are part of the team, who are part of that problem, contribute equally to express their own views. It is then we all can understand that where the problem is lying. But please ensure when you're allowing the participants to express their views, do not allow emotions to consume the parties. Because if you are emotional, or if any of the members are emotional, you may get weighed away with this, and then you will not be able to come up with a conclusion. Keep a respectful, empathetic, and caring attitude, which is extremely important, because a conflict is something which may break or make. It is you, if you are a leader, if you are taken in ownership, then you will also have to respect the other person's opinion. Stay away from blame and accusations. Very important. And something which each one of us in this forum needs to keep in mind, that we have to stay away from any blame, any accusations from this. Encourage all parties to listen. If I have a point, I would encourage all the other fellow members to listen to what I'm saying. If somebody else has an opinion, he or she also expects the same, that other people listen to his ideas and his views. Identify the areas of where people are disagreeing and agreeing. List it down and understand that where are the gray areas where there can be a team effort, where it can be worked upon to resolve that conflict. Search for solutions. Very important again. There will be people having different opinions. Conflicts are happening every now and then. But what next? What is the next step? Every one of us should come up with some form of finding out a solution. And then finally, if there's a conflict, if there's a disagreement, there has to be a consensus. There has to be a point where all the people in the forum should say, yes, this is what we do. We agree to all what people have said. Brainstorm. How do you really work on a conflict? Write down all the ideas as they are generated. The best possible way where anybody can work on a conflict. Verbal discussions Verbal transparencies do not work when there's a conflict, because at the end of the discussion, there will be a lot of points which might be forgotten, which might be ignored or neglected. So just pen it down. Person A has an opinion, write it down. Person B has an opinion, just pen it down and then discuss. Point number 2, what it says, evaluate. Evaluate the positive and the negative aspects of each idea. As you have penned down the different ideas as being shared by different individuals in the forum, evaluate, make a judgment, and then finally narrow down on the list to the idea that best resolves the problem. 10 different people in the team will have 10 different ideas. But then once you have penned down all the ideas, once you have evaluated the positive and the negative aspects of each idea, you as a leader has to come across, take in that ownership, and then come up and plan in a best possible way the idea that best resolves the problem. Towards the end of my session, you see something which I have just incorporated, and which means conflicts are resolved only if you step up as a leader. Even be at home, leader does not mean that it has to be defined by a designation, by a title. If you are an ExCom member, if you are a Toastmaster, not necessarily you will have to play the role of a leader in the form of an executive committee member. You can just be a normal club member. In your office, a leader doesn't mean that you will have to be the CEO or the managing director or even the head of the department. You can just be a secretary, a clerk, or an executive. At home, not necessarily that you will have to be the man or the father or the husband. Leaders can be anyone. It is up to you to understand and make sure that if you're stepping up, if you are taking the ownership, all eyes will be on you to resolve this conflict, to make people understand that every problem has a solution. Every conflict will have a resolution. Resolving conflicts is not difficult at all. It is your leadership qualities that defines how it is exactly can be resolved in a better way. With that, I end my session and I'm kind of open to any Q&A as desired. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day, DTM Farooq.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Abhijit, for that wonderful presentation. Let me knock off this green light, which is making me look like I just arrived from Mars. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our speaker, Toastmaster Abhijit Roy, a big round of applause. Thank you so much. So I now open the floor for questions. In fact, since Toastmaster Abhijit finished about 5 minutes early, we will have a good 15 minutes for Q&A. And I believe a subject such as conflicts should have questions. Otherwise, I will be really upset and a conscientious person. So let us kick it off. If you have any questions, please please feel free to type it out in the chat so all of us can see it. And while you're waiting for questions, I can hear some kids crying. I think they're really upset with the presentation. While we're waiting for those questions, maybe I can perhaps kick off with a question, with your permission, Toastmaster Abhijit. I saw at one of your slides, you had put out the various sources of conflict, and one of them was styles of leadership. The question is, if the source of the problem is the leader, the so-called leader, how would you approach or advise that we try to resolve that conflict? I know you went through 5 different steps or suggestions for resolution. In my case, if the source of the conflict is actually the leader, what would you recommend? How would you recommend that we get about it? Which of those would you prefer to use?
See, certainly, DTM Farooq, a very apt question that you have asked me. I would kind of, let me relate it to my personal view, where I could kind of correlate that in my own office premise, right? When I talk about styles of leadership, when I say that if leader is the problem, leader is ideally not the problem. It is the behavior, right? Because every individual has a different way of leadership. If the leader is an autocratic leader, if he commands, if he says, no, whatever I have put in front of the audience, that has to be binding. That has to be the final version. And there's no kind of verdict where people can come up. Then there's no way out where conflict arises, because he is the sole person where he takes up the ownership. If you as a member, if you as a team member, if you feel that, yes, the leader has not taken the right decision, then I would come to the point number one. Just ignore it. That is the maximum that you can do. Because at the end of the day, we all understand, we all know, and we all have been probably listening to this from our seniors, from our guardians, that bosses are always right. The leaders are always right. That's point number one. And point number two, if you find that they are wrong, then please refer point number one, which is the leaders or their managers are always right. So in such a way, let me frame it, that if you find that leader is so-called the problem, then what is the maximum that you can do is probably ignore it, walk out of from that, because the leader, the manager is the owner of that problem. If he is not in consensus with the members, if he does not discusses, if he does not take the different opinion of his team members and then come up with a positive response, it is whose loss? It is his loss, because he is then expected to represent that problem solving to the management, to the end client. So in a way, to answer to your question, I would say that if you find a leader who itself is a problem, then the best way is to ignore it, or max to maximum, you can go ahead and share your own thoughts. Nothing much can be done about it.
Thank you so much. I really liked how you put about the famous rule number one and rule number two. And in our case, I will keep it in mind, because the leader in BAT is DTM Khalid Abdullah, so I'll always refer to rule number one and two. But not that he's a conscientious leader. He's actually a very friendly leader. He has a little red circle, which we all know about. All right. Toastmaster Abhijit, there are quite a few questions, and I think we'll quickly let's get to them. Maybe I will, in fact, use a question from DTM Khalid Abdullah. He says, how do you deal with passive aggressiveness due to conflicts?
Okay. So how I would address this is...
May I please add, he also links it to Toastmasters. He says, this could be a possible cause for losing some members in Toastmasters. So maybe you might want to link both of it. Over to you.
What was the first question? What is the...
How do you deal with passive aggressiveness due to conflicts? This could be a possible cause for losing members in Toastmasters.
This can be addressed. First, let me directly jump into the main point of relating this with Toastmasters, because many a times what happens is a Toastmaster club is a club of probably 20 plus members, or more than 10 members, I can say, a good healthy club. Different people will have different opinions and thoughts. Not all people will be allowed to take in a judgment, to take in a call, to make a decision. So if you are part of the ExCom, or if you form a committee beyond the ExCom, which includes the 7 executive committees and as well as few senior members who have been with the Toastmasters fraternity for quite some time, even there you will find a lot of disagreements. I'll give you a very right example of what is happening right now in my club. It could not be a reality check, but however, just making and giving an example. Last year, we are a 1-year term club, and last year I was serving as the VP Education. I had my own way of leadership wherein I led my club achieve the president's distinguish, getting 10 out of 10. Now, there were members who were happy. There were members who were not happy. Members who were happy were actually focused, were actually followers of me as a leader to understand, yes, if you have achieved 10 out of 10, that is the benefit given to the club. But at the same time, parallelly, it has also benefited us, because we as members have also been able to take up roles, have been able to give us speeches. So people were in agreement to that. But there were some members who disagreed with that, because of the fact remained that they felt that probably I was a little aggressive in my approach in terms of getting the goals achieved. So conflicts here did not arise at that point of time. Conflict arose when I stepped out of my role as VP Education. I stepped in the role from the VP Education and took up the role of president. It is then when people came up and said, Toastmaster Abhijit, you didn't do a right job. You had lack in your leadership qualities. These are the areas where you were aggressive. These are the areas where you had flaws. So when these statements are being made, what do you think? I am already in the position of the president. I can't step out of my president role. I cannot leave Toastmasters. There will be people not in part of the executive committee roles who are already committed, but they will be simple members who might just say, fine, I quit. I will not renew. Forget about the money that I have given for renewal. So in a way, when you're dealing with this kind of situations, you will have to be very smart of how you play that kind of a conflict building. Sometimes the best possible way is to be a good listener. When people talk about you in a very negative way, people talk about the flaws, the problems that has been faced over a period of time because of you, you just listen. Just give it a thought and then agree. Yes, you have been right. I'm not denying the fact that you are wrong. However, your inner soul talks about that it is the numbers that have already spoken. Why are you a president distinguished club today? Because the goals have been achieved, and it's just not educational goals. It's also the leadership goals. So sometimes it is not as an individual who have to speak in order to dissolve or resolve a conflict. It is sometimes the results, the behavior also speaks for yourself. So whenever such kind of conflicts arises, think about it, whether that conflict is something that you can resolve through words. If not, a non-verbal communication is also a best channel to deal with such kind of conflicts. Does it answer the question, or is there any other way where
Indeed, it did. This was a very nice way of putting it, and I guess this was like a very practical answer to your question. Now let's quickly run to one of the questions on the chat, which has come from Toastmaster Vidad Hijazi. She asks a very touching question. She says, how can you resolve a conflict and ask the concerned not to be emotional? How can you resolve a conflict and ask the concerned not to be emotional? It's a question.
True. So how I would answer this is not through a personal narration, but also something which I can just talk practically. It is something that you need to gauge the behavior of that person. When in a forum, when there are conflicts, be it people of two people, group of two people, of more than that, you cannot start judging everybody's emotional well-being. Here in this forum, every different people have different behavioral characteristics. If people come up with different ideas, if I'm a leader, I really cannot see if DTM Farooq or DTM Abdullah or DTM Ahmed, anybody in this forum, whether they are feeling emotional or whether what they're going to feel at the end of the discussion. What I'm here for as a leader is to keep out the forum open. Listen to each one of you. Because if I have to resolve a conflict, if I have to take in that ownership, I will have to be a very, very vivid listener. That is extremely important and a very key element to resolve a conflict. Behavior-wise, you can keep certain things aside. I am sure that a person may feel very sad and rejected that I had given an opinion, I had given my own thoughts and ideas, by the way, that did not get accepted. When he or she walks out, they might feel dejected, they might feel low, but nothing that you can do about it, because that is the interest of all the other people. You will not have to look at a single person. You will have to look as an audience, as a crowd. And I can guarantee at that very moment, if that person has given an idea or thrown upon a kind of a feedback or a suggestion to resolve that conflict, he or she may not feel the right way if that is not accepted. But after a few days, when that conflict is already resolved, you already have a solution out of it, which benefits that member the most, or even that benefits that member, he or she will come up and say, or feel rather in a way that no, me being emotional was a childish behavior. At that few seconds or few minutes of time, I did feel emotional because I felt ignored, I feel neglected, I felt isolated because my ideas were not being accepted. I felt that whatever I threw upon my version of resolving technique was not being accepted by the people. But at the end of the day, when it benefits you, you feel what you are. You feel that yes, this has been done, this whatever decision has been made has been for the benefit of me and the audience around me. So I guess don't really emphasize on the emotional aspect of it, because you may start crying, you may start fighting, but if you start addressing each and every emotional well-being of any individual, I guess then conflicts will never get resolved.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I guess maybe one other, maybe as an additional point, as things develop, as the relationship between the conflicting parties develop, and it moves in from conflict scenario to a scenario of trust, the whole aspect of emotion kind of evaporates, I guess. So thanks so much. That's a brilliant answer. Exactly. I have one more question before we can wrap up your session, and that is from Toastmaster Sangeeta. She asks, wouldn't ignoring only build up resentment?
Sorry?
Wouldn't ignoring only build up the resentment?
Okay. Ignorance is bliss. Why do we have this definition or have this say? Sometimes if you are in a conflict, you always need to understand that the other side of aspect of it. As I rightly said in my slide, and when I was explaining, that when there's a conflict in front of me, which happens in everybody's life, giving a very personal example, you may be married, you may be not. You may be sitting at your home in this lockdown period. You haven't actually given much time to your spouse, to your family many times, because of your work commitments, because of other things that you have been engulfed into. Now it so happens in this lockdown, you sit at home and spend maximum time with your families. Now you understand this very fact that, oh my God, my husband or my wife has this opinion, because you are not even going out of your homes. 24/7, you are all inside your home. So there will be your children, there will be your parents, there will be your wife, all will come up with different opinion for a particular version. Some may like to watch a particular channel at the same time. Your parents step up and say, no, I want to watch the news. Your kids wants to watch some. What is that? That's also a version of conflict. Then everybody jumps on you because you are the homemaker, you are the house owner. You own the overall version. Whom would you address? Whom would you support? Would you support your spouse? Would you support your kids? Would you support your parents? The best version is sometimes to ignore what exactly they want to be. Be in a position where you sit down, gauge what they want to do. If your wife or your husband wants to watch a particular channel at a particular time, if your kids want to do it, and if your parents want to do it, prioritize. If you are not able to prioritize, if you are the decision maker, ignore everybody and watch your own channel. Exactly, tune in to the channel that you want to watch. That is ignorance, because you are ignoring, because there are three different people all attacking you at the same time. So in a way, this was an example which I cited. However, coming back to the answer to the main question of how ignorance will help you to resolve conflict is if you feel that part of the conflict is not directly relatable to you. If you feel that if I don't step up and give my own version, if my own judgment on this conflict to find out a solution or find a resolving this, just ignore it. Tomorrow, if there are so many people in a district conference sitting to kind of find out who the right person could be for a district director, I had my own views that DTM A and DTM B are the two selected candidates, but I feel that neither DTM A nor DTM B are the right candidates for the position of the district director. So what I do, I ignore, I don't vote for anybody, even though as part of the district council the member, I have the ownership as a president to vote for somebody, but I ignore because I don't find anybody else, anybody amongst the two to actually vote in for. So I ignore, I just leave it as it is. Ignorance sometimes does work. And if you want to try it sometimes, leaving that, walking away from that. If you want peace, if you really feel that ignoring that, not stepping, because that finding out a solution to that conflict will directly impact you or your own life, then the best version is to come out of it and just walk away. Just ignore it.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Abhijit. And I guess that's a great time to stop because we have reached the end of the 10 minutes, which was originally allocated. But this was a very lively Q&A session. And I'm really thankful you finished 5 minutes early because we managed to squeeze in 2 extra questions. So thank you so much. But please stick around. As I said, we have another combined discussion at the end. So I would like to have you around because I'm sure we'll have a lot more questions at that time. Ladies and gentlemen, I call upon each and every one of you to give a big round of applause to our presenter, Toastmaster Abhijit Roy, please. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Job well done. Yesterday, I was at a Toastmasters meeting of the Filipino Teachers Association, Bahrain, and the word of the day was cantankerous, which apparently means arguing and being all conflicting. I must say, I cannot be cantankerous after listening to this resolving conflict presentation of Toastmaster Abhijit Roy. Thank you so much. Now let us quickly move on to the next presenter. And how may I introduce this presenter? I think the simplest way to say is, he is my guru. He is the guru of my other gurus. And he is the guru of all gurus in Bahrain. He's been in Toastmasters. He's been involved with Toastmasters. I think just about a few years. He started his Toastmasters career a few years after Dr. Alfie Smedley started it. So, of course, I'm joking. He's not that old, but he's actually my mentor. He's been a father figure to me and to a lot of others in Bahrain in our Toastmasters fraternity. He has occupied literally every conceivable seat in leadership that I could think of. And the beauty of this man is, well, other than his shiny hairstyle, the beauty of the man is that he's always there, who's always ready to serve at any level. Just because he's been a past division governor doesn't mean if we call upon him to be sergeant at arms, he'll say no. He steps up and does that. In fact, he has done that in front of our eyes. So this is the humility and beauty of this man. I cannot really introduce him in any other better way. He's a great leader, great brother, great Toastmaster, great teacher. I would like to introduce DTM Ahmed Rizvi to present his presentation on meeting roles and responsibilities. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Faraz. It's a wonderful introduction. I do not know I deserve all that, but it's true that it has been a long time in Toastmasters and we have been listening to two wonderful presentations now. One is about the moments of truth and the conflict, resolving conflicts. My presentation, I do not know how I could connect to that subject of moments of truth and the conflict resolving, but I will try my best because what I am going to talk about is totally different subject from those two presentations. And I think the audience who are here maybe sometimes get bored what is the topic, what I'm going to talk about, but I'll make it interesting. Club Growth Director of District 20, this is Toastmaster Khalid Abdullah, and immediate past regional level advice, I think he has left, but nevertheless, I would like to respect and address him. My past presidents, Toastmaster Faraz Farooq, distinguished Toastmaster Zara, and current president, distinguished Toastmaster Khalid Abdullah, area directors and respected presenters, and most welcome audience. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, being a presenter on meeting roles and responsibilities. This is a very common topic that has been talked about, meeting roles and responsibilities. Before I give my presentation, I would like to just advise that meeting roles and responsibilities are something that makes the meeting more lively. Now, there are three things in meeting roles we should follow. One is being professional, one is being proficient, and one is being perfect. But when you want to be professional, yes, the moments of truth plays a big role. But when it comes to proficiency and perfection, that brings the conflict because everybody cannot be perfect and everybody cannot be proficient. So what we heard about those presentations before this presentation somewhat relates to our day-to-day participation in every Toastmasters meeting where we have roles to play, leadership to take, and perform to our best of our ability. Let me ask with a question. Any of you can you answer either in the chat or we have 38 participants at the moment out of the 42 I have left, I believe. Can somebody tell me what are the roles or what three types of roles in a meeting? Can somebody tell me or can somebody write in the chat? Okay, somebody writes GE, timer, MC, before, during, and after, XCOM, before, during, after. Speaker, grammarian. Yes, okay, thank you. These are all common rules, but when we come to Toastmasters things, always, if you all would have noticed, that every aspect of Toastmastering has three parts, that is prior and during and after. Even in the meeting, regular meetings or any other meetings, we have three aspects we have to play, each and every meeting role. That is a common thing in our meetings. Prior to the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. Those are three aspects we have to follow as meeting roles, role players. And And there are three types of roles in a meeting, in a regular meeting, if you have three types of roles. In three types of roles also, the first type is, there are two sets. One is the topmost 4 roles and the supporting 4 roles. There are 8 roles. And those are the roles what you have mentioned, which I will come back to explain when I am giving the presentation. The topmost 4 and the supporting 4. Then you have a chance of having an additional rules as well. If you all think it is necessary, you all can accommodate according to the time availability in a meeting, or if you want to give an opportunity for members to take part, you can add those roles as well. Then the third part of the meeting roles is the leadership, the officer standards to meet officers' roles. So these 3 parts of roles have 3 types of activities, that is prior, during, and after. Now let us see what are the roles. I will try to share the screen now. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, we can. At least talking about myself. Yes.
Okay. Okay, meeting rules and responsibilities. These are the first top 4 I talked about, and the other 4, supporting 4. That is the Toastmaster, the Topics Master, speakers, and general evaluator. Now, Toastmaster, what does he do? He is the Toastmaster of the day, the meeting person who anchors meeting and sails through the ship, how best the meeting could be. The Toastmaster, the main master of ceremonies we call it, and Toastmaster of the day or Toastmaster of the evening or whatever. And his responsibilities are to make sure the meeting, before the meeting, to have the assignees confirmation that they attend the meeting and they perform their roles that have been assigned to each and every person. The speakers are available and the speech evaluators and the general evaluator is ready, and all the part of prior arrangements to become the meeting very effective is the part of the Toastmaster of the day, that the master of ceremonies. And he has to coordinate with the Vice President Education for each and every aspect of the roles, what is in case if there is a dropout, how to have a backup for that role and get a speaker, backup speaker, etc. in discussion, in collaboration with the Vice President Education. The Toastmaster is the main person to make sure that the meeting is productive and meeting starts on time and meeting ends on time, and all the assignees are well attending on time and performing their roles. As his role comes, and he has the assignees, like under him he has the topics master, who is the table topics master, who has also to be prepared. Now, the Moments of Truth spoke about how table topic master should be. It should not be very boring, or it should not be out of the norms of the Toastmasters, but innovative and interesting so that everybody could take part and do their best in commenting on the topics what is being given. Any type of topics is acceptable, but as far as it is innovative and interesting and various type of ways can be implemented to give the topics, that is topics master's job. Now, coming to the speakers in each and every meeting, how many speakers we should have and how best we could accommodate the speakers to perform their speeches within the time limit we have selected for the meeting is the responsibility of the Vice President Education, which I will talk about when I come to the third part of the meeting rules, where their responsibilities are. But the speaker's responsibility is to make sure that the speaker is really prepares the speech according to the requirements of the manual, or even requirements according to the elective projects or whatever. Now, Pathways has different, various, numerous way of presenting as well as coming up with speeches, topics, and humorous, whatever it is. But the speakers should be presenting their speeches according to the time limit which is being given to them, and also they should be prepared to do their speeches as long as they have taken up the role as speakers. When they have asked for their speaking slots, they should be prepared, well prepared to come and present themselves in the as a speaker. Then the next role is the general evaluator. Now, general evaluator has an equal role, responsibility as the Toastmaster of the day. The general evaluator also should make sure that his team of timer, grammarian, accountant, and the speech evaluators are ready with their roles, and they are ready to attend the meeting on time and make sure that they have the correct scripts, etc., and the evaluation forms, etc. Prior to the meeting, the general evaluator should make sure all these aspects are fulfilled as a general evaluator. And in the general evaluation, the general evaluator should be able to evaluate, just like the Movements of Truth presenter said, the elements in the first slide, what he said about the first impression which the club gave, it could be accommodated. And I would also like to emphasize, if the general evaluators can accommodate that part in evaluating the meeting, prior to the meeting, how it happened, how during the meeting, and when the meeting started, how the guests greeted, etc., to be included. And also the general evaluator has the responsibility to make sure the evaluations are according to the requirement of the project, and the speech evaluators are meeting that requirement. So that is another additional responsibility that we all just sometimes we miss in the club. The general evaluator, even sometimes we feel that he has not contacted his evaluators or the other assignees, and only during the meeting we see that even the name of the other assignees, speech evaluators, are known to the general evaluator. So which I would emphasize that general evaluator's role is very important, as equally as the Toastmasters and the Toastmaster of the day. The next four roles are supporting roles, the speech evaluators for the speakers. Speech evaluators. Now, why I say supporting roles here? Now, out of the top four Toastmasters who are here can do dual roles from the supporting roles. So, but having additionally these roles are giving opportunity for other members who are not doing speeches or any other assignments, they get opportunity here. Otherwise, the meeting can run with these four Toastmasters taking up the four additional roles as timer, grammarian, accountant, etc. Dual roles they can play, and even their meeting can go. But that doesn't make a meeting very professional. That has special two things. The other member gets an opportunity to be an assignee, and the attendance of that member is also ensured, and they get experience in the leadership, and they learn sometimes how it is done. General evaluation, Toastmaster of the day work, everything is done. The other members learn. Speech evaluators also should be very punctual in getting their evaluations from the speakers, evaluation forms, what the project they are doing, and whether they are looking at a particular area to be evaluated, and where their weaknesses are to be pointed out, and to talk to the speakers, and must know what areas especially the speaker is looking for. His evaluation is feedback. The feedback is the most important part of the speech evaluations. So speech evaluators should be ready also with their forms, with their evaluation criteria, and also speak to the speaker and know which area that he wants to get the feedback as well. It will help the speaker to a great extent, and the meeting will be very professional, as well as the speech evaluators will have adequate material to talk about and in their evaluation. Coming to the timer, timer's role is being a real timer from prior to the meeting, come early for the meeting, even in the virtual meeting, come and set up all the timing devices or whatever it is, explain what is the role that is playing and how the timing is going to be, and the speech timing, if it is possible to get in advance prior to the meeting, try to get those timings as well from the speech evaluators or the speakers, and be ready with the script, proper script. Sometimes the timers find it difficult even to explain the timing criteria for each subject, even table topics, evaluations, they got confused. So being prepared with a proper script, how much time for project speeches, how much time for the table topics, how much time for the evaluations, that is 5 to 7 minutes or 1 to 2 minutes for table topics and 2 to 3 minutes for the evaluators, etc., can be scripted out very professionally so that you will be very proficient and very do a perfect job. That is what I told of the 3 aspects: being professional, proficient, and perfect. Grammarian has the role of being a grammarian in a meeting. A real grammarian will prepare well in advance the word of the day and explain to the Toastmaster of the day what the word of the day is, as well as all other aspects of a grammarian and how to explain the role. I have a script that is the role of the grammarian is to introduce the word of the day and to monitor the language as well as the grammatical mistakes, etc. All these aspects should be well scripted by the grammarian and kept ready for his presentation when the introduction is made during the meeting. Apart from that, it is very good to note down the quotations of the speakers, quotations from the Toastmaster's address or the presidential address, and the nice words used, etc. And the word of the day, introduced word of the day, how many times it was used and how it was used, whether it was used in the correct perspective or it was used in the incorrect perspective, etc. Noted down and a report to be submitted at the end when the general evaluator calls for. All of us, I must personally say that I have become a very good speaker without much gap fillers in my presentations or speeches, etc., because of this R-counter's role, what I have been playing as R-counter in the meetings, as well as when I have noticed when the other R-counters point out the mistakes what I have made in the gap fillers, where I have stopped, paused, or even when I have repeatedly said the same word too many times unnecessarily, etc. So this is R-counter's role, where you keep a record of all crutches by the speakers, gap fillers, R's, etc., and make a record and give presentation at the end when the general evaluator asks for it at this general evaluation time. Now, additional roles which I mentioned, these are the additional roles which you can assign for members who could not get any assignment, so that they will be present in the meeting, and it is a learning process as well. Now, presenter of invocation is something that is not practiced in most of the clubs in this part of Middle East, I would say, but I know some part of the globe it happens. Presenter gives a very motivational quote and explains it at the beginning of the meeting before starting the meeting. Here also some clubs have that practice of thought of the day or thought of the evening, etc. And sometimes they explain the idiom of the meeting, etc. But invocation is something at the beginning of the meeting that should be done by, they should assign a separate person for that. This is not implemented mostly in our clubs in Bahrain, I should say, but some clubs I have seen outside Bahrain, this is being practiced. We can accommodate this as a presenter of invocation to give a thought of the day at the beginning of the meeting, and then start it with the introduction of the Master of Ceremonies or the President, or however the agenda is being prepared. Joke Master, yes. Sometimes when you call the Joke Master, we feel very odd why we should be called as Joke Master. Sometimes it may hurt, but Joke Master's role is a very important role to learn how to become a humorous speaker. So this is very important role which we can assign to anybody who is not doing speeches or evaluations or any other roles as a humorous speaker with a 3-minute speech or whatever it is, to develop their humorous speaking skills. This is very useful, and in a meeting, each and every meeting should have this. This will develop some entertainment as well to get off the meeting in a nice mood, etc. So Joke Master's role is also very important. Vote counter. What is vote counter's role? Can somebody tell me what is vote counter's role here? Everybody are muted. You can talk in the chat. I'm running out of time here.
Count the votes of best speaker, best evaluator, something like that.
Exactly. So this vote counter, we don't assign as such, but in virtual meetings, that becomes very, very crucial, I would say. So having a person to take that votes or ballots, even in the physical meeting, and count it and get it to the Master of Ceremonies on time, so that we will not waste much time in the meeting to do that. It is an assignment given to another member. It will be very helpful. But in the virtual meeting, it is done virtually, so it doesn't matter much. But keeping a vote counter in the regular meeting is very helpful. Parliamentarian. This again is a very crucial requirement when we have business session to be resolved very quickly, especially when we're resolving conflicts. Sometimes the conflicts arise during the business session, and parliamentarian position is very crucial at that time. If there's a parliamentarian, whether we are following the correct parliamentary procedures, even to take up the proposals made, and whether the conflicts are resolved properly, etc. An experienced Toastmaster being present as parliamentarian in the meeting is very helpful to conduct a very professional business session in the meeting. So this is a recommended roles, additional roles by the Toastmasters. Now I thought number three part of the meeting roles are the officers who will play the roles of the leaders to meet their standards, starting from Sergeant at Arms, who calls the meeting to order and make sure that the president is available and he starts the meeting on time. And Sergeant at Arms should, as told in the moments of truth by the presenter, Sergeant at Arms' role is very, very vital. So many areas the Sergeant at Arms can cover is like almost the management role he plays in every aspect, looking at the materials available, the timers log, counters, recording sheets, grammarians logs, etc. being available, and timing device, all these things, gavel for the president to open the meeting, etc. All these requirements are the meeting roles by the Sergeant at Arms, where he plays very important role to greet the guests and make sure that they get entertained and explained all the things in a meeting. The president's role, yes, we know the president's role. They are being trained in the officers' training, so I don't want to take much of the time, but the president's role is to come prepared before the meeting, asking from Vice President Education whether there are any special announcements, special workshops, special educational sessions, etc. And to inquire from the Vice President Public Relations whether adequate publicity of the meeting is given for all to attend, and from the Vice President membership to ensure what are the apologies, who are the members not coming, etc. Everything to be prior to the meeting. He should learn about the meeting's requirements and open the meeting on time and make sure that proper proceedings are followed during the meeting by all the assignees as well as his officers, and calling for reports during the business session, conducting a crisp and concise business session is the ability of the president, which has to be learned very, very professionally. And proficiency is one thing that will make sure the meeting is productive as well as the meeting is enjoyed by the audience. Vice President Education, prior to the meeting, yes, making sure the Master of Ceremonies is preparing himself for the meeting to be conducted properly, assigning and calling for assignees as well as the speakers, evaluations, and getting their names and submitting to the Master of Ceremonies, and then making sure the agenda is prepared well on time and published, like the presenter who said in the moments of publishing the agenda to well in advance to the attendees as well as to the guests is another responsibility where Vice President Education and Vice President Public Relations as well will have to do for the meeting. Public Relations role starts from the time he creates the poster for the meeting and publicize the meeting timing, etc. Now it is very important these days for the virtual meetings that the meeting ID or meeting ID password, etc., link, etc., is published well on time for the members to come and join the meeting well on time. This is prior to the meeting and during the meeting, making sure that the guests are properly addressed to with all the requirements and about the club culture and etc. Public relations does, and exposing the club's meetings after the meeting to the members who are not present and to the others with a short poster or whatever the notifications about the meeting that has been gone. Vice President membership, he comes before the Vice President Public Relations. Yes, he has very limited activity, but making sure the members are present in the meeting and contacting the members who have not been present in the meeting and getting their reasons, or making sure that next time they should be attending and ensuring invite them to please come for the next meeting at least, and they must be having the valid reasons, etc. So the Vice President has a vital role in keeping the membership retention very active by caring for the members, that they are very important in each and every meeting. To make sure that importance is felt by the member is the role of the Vice President membership. For the Secretary, it is, yes, records is the key word. In each and every meeting prior to the coming for the meeting, the Secretary should be ready with the previous meeting minutes, and the Secretary should be having a membership roster as well when the Secretary attends the meeting. See the attendance records are taken very accurately, and read the minutes during the meeting and take down notes, especially decisions, especially during the business session, who made the proposal, who seconded the proposal, and how it was voted upon with majority or whatever it is. All those records must be put in the minutes and kept as a record for future references and meetings, reading the minutes. Treasurer role is before the meeting, yes, to make sure that there is a statement with him to explain during the business session, during his report, and to make sure the collections are made during the meeting from the members, and also to make sure the payments are made to the TI or membership roster. Membership dues are properly updated in the Toastmasters International, and the expenses of the club records are maintained very accurately and presented in a professional manner. At least once in 3 months, a statement properly submitted to the club members to know, being transparent in each and every transactions made by the club money, from the club money, is very essential. Actually, these are the roles, and this is very simple quote. We have been reading it again and again and again and again. It's all a teamwork process. Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress. working together is success by Henry Ford, American industrialist. So this has been given to us by Toastmasters themselves in their presentation, which is coming together is very essential part of all the meeting role players, from the assignees, the topmost role players, and the officers, additional role players getting together and making the meeting will be the very productive, very proficient, very perfect meeting. With that, I hand control to the Master of Ceremonies, Toastmaster Faraz Farooq.
Thank you so much, DTM Rizvi, and for that beautiful and great presentation. I know that's a lot of material, and ladies and gentlemen, do bear with me while I try to figure out how I can get rid of this yellow background. You know, I think that I'm good at multitasking, but at each time I figure out I'm actually terrible at it, but I still keep trying, hoping one day I will be, but I know I won't. Thank you so much, DTM Rizvi. That was very long. I know it was a long topic and there's a lot to cover in 30 minutes, and I'm sure you did your best to put in everything that you could. Now, ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions on the last presentation that we had? And as I've indicated, please hang around, stay tuned. We also will have an open discussion after this. We will have questions, and please feel free to note your questions down either on the chat, or you could raise your hands up either virtually or on screen, so that we could give you an opportunity to ask your questions straight away. I have there is a note here. No, it's not a note. It's not a question. It's actually a note. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Prasanna. I see your note over here. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for the great, beautiful words that you have put in over here. He's impressed with my host skills. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure you two are a great host, and I would like to participate in a meeting that you host one day. Please do. There is a good question from our previous speaker addressed to DTM Rizvi, and may I please ask that? Toastmaster Abhijit Rai asks, is it a mandate to time all the role players in a meeting to define a session as a quality meeting? I guess both DTM Rizvi, and if DTM Ali Shahbaz is available, he can also chip in. So I'll start with DTM Rizvi. The question is it necessary that we time all the role players in a meeting, and would that define the session as a quality meeting? DTM Rizvi? DTM Rizvi?
He's here. He's just
He is here,
muted.
yes. Okay. If DTM
Yes,
Ali Shahbaz
yes.
is here, yes, great. Okay, great. So DTM Rizvi, it's actually two questions in one. First question is it mandated to time all the role players, and would that define the session as a quality meeting? So.
Faraz, I cannot get the question. You're breaking off.
Okay, let me say the first part of the question. It is it mandated that we time all role players in a meeting? Is it important that we time all the role players during a meeting?
All the role players.
All the role players, starting from Sergeant at Arms to the President to the business session, then to the Toastmaster of the day and the various speakers. Do we have to time each and every segment?
Absolutely. If you time it in the agenda, the given time to each and every role players from Sergeant at Arms onwards, I think we should time them strictly, rigidly. Then only the meeting can be concluded. Sometimes we time the business session or presidential address giving 3 minutes, but it exceeds to 5 to 7 minutes. Like that, even the Master of Ceremonies takes control, and the Toastmaster of the day, he exceeds more than the time. So
Okay.
sometimes when we relax like that, it doesn't happen. We will have to be professional in having the timing from the beginning till the end, timing all the role players. Even when account grammarian, when we are given to explain to them the role, sometime is allocated in the agenda, we should see that that time is taken by the account and the grammarian also.
So then the second part of the question, needless to say, and I guess you have already answered it in a way, timing each and every segment. I think you have already answered the second part of the question, but let me just reiterate it. So obviously timing each segment of the meeting would lead to a better quality meeting. You would agree?
Give me a minute.
So DTM Rizvi, what I was saying is, you have already answered this, but just to reiterate, timing every segment of the meeting would necessarily and would essentially lead to a better quality meeting.
DJ, for us, I think you are breaking. I do not know whether it is my.
I think it's your end, Brother Ahmed, because I can hear him clearly. I think it's maybe DTM Ahmed might be having a problem in his end. But he already, as you said, he already answered to the question. So
I guess you did, yeah.
yeah.
I'm just looking through the chat to see if there are any other questions that I could address to DTM Ahmed. There is one question which, if I ask this question, is going to actually incriminate me, but I am going to ask it anyway because it's my duty as host to be fair to everybody who has asked something. and I'll actually leave this question to be answered by DTM Khalid Abdullah. In fact, there's a DTM Toastmaster Diane Reynolds is asking me, "Are you chewing gum, sir?"
No, this is him. This it's not chewing gum, no. Although it could be.
It could be, I don't know, but that's a very valid question. So how would people feel about the quality of the meeting if the host was chewing gum? I just thought I'll throw it in because it was something that I thought was funny but quite relevant to the purpose of today's meeting. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Diane. I really appreciate your feedback on this. I'm trying to hide it now while I'm speaking. Any other questions, please, to address to Toastmaster DTM Rizvi? Great. I'm sure he addressed this in the presentation somewhere. DTM Rizvi, I hope you're still online. Have you seen any difference in the way meeting roles have changed or evolved over the past, say, 1 or 2? I know you've been a Toastmaster for over 2 decades. Have you seen changes or evolution of these meeting roles over the past 2 decades? Only somebody with your experience can see such a change. And if we could maybe see your point of view, please.
Unfortunately, I don't see him anymore.
Oh, shoot, okay. Have you been a Toastmaster for 20 years, DTM Khalid?
Not really, not nearly. I'm just 19 years old, so 1 more year to be 20.
You were a Gavelio all these years, I guess. Okay. Yeah. Maybe we can ask this question from DTM Ali Shahbaz. Are you on line, sir? I can see he's present, but I don't know if he's very good. He is online.
So our champion Farhaz, I'm actually in the mentoring session of our region champion, who is the world, who is the finalist for the World Championship for Public Speaking. So there is a mentoring going on, but if there is any question, I can take it.
Can I then ask you this question, just this one, and then I'll let you go, because it's important that our region champion reaches the WCS because we're all rooting for him. The question is, have you seen what evolution or change in meeting roles and responsibilities and the way it is done during meetings have you seen over the past so many years that you have been a Toastmaster?
I have seen it varies from club to club, and for some clubs who have been very strong in their foundation, like membership orientation, they are still very, very strong. For some clubs who are weak and really don't want to change, I still see them suffering for some reason after so many workshops and them, a few members from one or two of the kind of these clubs attending district workshops, division or area workshops. I think it's all if really the club members want to change. That's the first question mark here. Do they really want to change, or do we really want to change? As I said in Moments of Truth, we all know about it, but how much do we want to apply? So I see a change. Some clubs, I wouldn't say in generic sense that some really, overall, it's good or bad. But I've been visiting so many clubs. Some have improved. Some are still the same for some reason. And the clubs which had those benchmark are still growing. The quality aspect is very important to them. So it all depends club to club, basically.
Thank you, DTM Ali, for your response, and in the middle of actually doing something quite important, which is mentoring our region champion. So we'll let you go, I guess. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? If we have, we are now well into the open discussion session, and if we do have any more questions, we are free to ask. Otherwise, maybe perhaps we could move to the next part of the proceedings. There was one more question. Maybe I would actually like to have this as an open discussion. I can see a question in the chat that says, what's the best way to transform such roles during this season of virtual meetings? What's the best way to transform such roles during this season of virtual meetings? Now, I can see a number of our guests and Toastmasters from Bahrain Advance, as well as the wider Toastmasters community over here. And all of us have experienced virtual meetings over the past few months. So may I ask you, maybe if you could just drop a few words into the chat to tell us about your personal experiences in how you managed to change roles over the past few months, how you converted roles that were done traditionally in the physical environment to the virtual environment, what little changes that you did. I can see one message has already come in. Let's use this session to perhaps, benefit each other. And okay, one answer is be bold and try all possibilities. That's from our DTM Khalid Abdullah. Don't be a perfectionist. Good. Now, being bold and try all possibilities, I guess it's within the framework of legitimacy and legality and what's permitted on, and that doesn't include taking part in the meeting while you're taking a shower, I guess. But yeah, you need to be bold. Let's try something new out. Well done. Don't be a perfectionist. That's another point. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen, you would like to share based on your experiences over the past few months? I'm just monitoring the chat as well while we see this. Dan Reynolds, thank you so much. I find I do things outside my role. Great. This lady is someone, amazing lady. I've seen her in literally almost all the club contests, area contests, division contests, district contests. In fact, I would attribute a lot of my personal success to seeing this lady perform in this club contest. And yes, do something outside my role, and that's a great way to learn, great way to develop, and great way to see where we are. Push the limits and see to what extent we can. Great. I will promote meetings. Well, that's great as well. Go to virtual meetings of other clubs, promote your own club, promote your own self perhaps, promote what your club stands for, the various roles that you stand for. Great ideas. Thank you so much. Any other ideas, suggestions, please? Maybe we'll just do this for the next 1 minute. Learn how to multitask. Oh, good. I'm still learning. But I know that you, Mr. CGD, are currently following this meeting and another 2 meetings on the sideline. That's multitasking at its best. And then we have our immediate past regional advisor in this meeting. He was also moderating some district training, and now he's coaching the region champion. So there you go. That's multitasking for all of us. Well done. Yes. Be creative. Toastmaster Fatima says, be creative. That's being bold, trying something new. Yes, being creative. Like Brother Farhaz, somebody says. Oh, great. Thank you so much. I guess we have enough of points to think about. And maybe with this, let's probably move on to the final session, which is to distribute the certificates to our three presenters, which will be, of course, presented virtually, and then we will email it to them later. And then maybe some closing thoughts from our president before we wind up. Thank you so much for being a great audience, everyone. And now I hand over control to our president for the presentation.
Thank you so much, everyone. And let me just extend sincere thanks to DTM Farhad for taking this on board. It was honestly his idea. We had club success plan and we were planning for something creative. One of the topics, of course, came up was the speakers bureau, and we're still on it. We're still discussing it. And then DTM Farhad said, okay, instead of going for the speakers bureau, how about this? And this is exactly what we were doing so far. And I'm sure many enjoyed the session. I saw at one point in time, we had more than 40 attendees, which is, I think that shows the success of whatever we are doing here. And we will definitely go more as well and explore more all these, if I may call them. And please, we are all here hearing from you, the guests of our meeting. We would love to have your feedback, and if we can also serve the content that you wish to have us presented, please don't hesitate to come forward and tell us your feedback. So DTM Farhad, are you ready with the presentation of the certificates? Okay, so we'll start with our own immediate past Region 11 advisor, DTM Ali Shahbaz. I can't really thank you enough, and I don't think any of the club members would be able to thank you for all of your hard work and giving us the opportunity and your time. We know that you're busy, and as what DTM Farhad said, you're jumping from one place to the other, and I really admire that into you. So thank you for all of your wisdom. And every time you speak, it's just like a music to my ear. When DTM Farhad was showing the yellow card and the red card, I was about to say, well, let it be. Let us hear more from DTM Ali Shahbaz. But well, we know, to the respect as well to the other speakers and guests who were attending. Thank you so much for all of your effort, and please accept this token of appreciation from us as ExCom in this club, to you as another member and godfather to this Bahrain Advanced Toastmaster Club. Moving on to the second presenter, Toastmaster Abhijit. Thank you so much for the conflict resolutions tips. I already told you that now I think I will just go back to maybe my wife, I'll just have a conflict with her and maybe use such of these tips that you had shared with us and experience it in real life situations. So thank you so much for being here with us, for representing and raising the flag, carrying the flag of Bahrain Advanced Toastmaster Club and presenting here among us in this first attempt. That's going back to what DTM Farhad said. We're trying things new, and this is definitely not new. Old is gold, but we are presenting it in a new atmosphere and new environment, and especially those members who join Pathways might not be really equipped with whatever we are presenting. So thank you so much, Toastmaster Abhijit, for all of your hard work and wisdom. And last but definitely not the least, DTM Ahmed Rizvi. DTM Ahmed Rizvi, thank you so much for. I honestly, among the other two, this was the most difficult one because it's very simple and straightforward roles and responsibilities topics, but you made it interesting and you presented it with your own quality that is known about you. And you also is another pillar of this club that we also learn from you, as what DTM Farhad said, a mentor of all of his mentors or mentees. So thank you so much for all of this. And we wish to hear as well more from you and learn from you. And that represents the last certificate to be presented. Thank you all for the three speakers. Thanks for the guests who, without them, I think this wouldn't have been possible. as what we've been exchanging in the chat box, this is not the last meeting that we have. We have our regular meeting, which would be conducted on the 15th of August. I left the link of the meeting, and I'm sure our VPPR already contacted you individually. Please don't feel shy to attend our next meeting. We would love to hear from you. We would love to see you in our future meetings. We would love to learn from you, because that's the point of having such exchanges. It's not only just one-way road or one-way communication. It's opposite, two-road communication, and we would love to hear from you. And I even heard from one of our guests who left, unfortunately, DTM Morally wanted to also be one of the speakers in our oldest goal. So I see our VPE also giving thumbs up. So this is, again, it's an open platform for everyone who would love to be a part of it. And we are also trying something new with this virtual platform, and I'm sure the meetings that to come, we would even offer more than whatever we offer today. With this, I don't think this is not really a meeting to adjourn, but I would call this meeting as adjourn. And whoever is here, if we can have just a group photo. Otherwise, our Vice President of Public Relations would have I would have hard time with her. She has to record this. So
I took already few screenshots, but would love to have one with all the members ready. All the
please, so
attendees ready.
we can switch on your camera for those who can.
With thumbs up.
Thumbs up and a smile. DTM Shilpa, nice to see you after such a long time.
Okay. Are you
DTM Shilpa is looking after her grandkids, the pigeons.
All right, so 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. We would love to hear from you. If you want to share anything, we would be here for another couple of minutes. We know that Toastmasters are born to be speakers, and if you don't speak here, you might be speaking somewhere else. So please, if you have any.
Sometimes this is the only place we get the opportunity to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, brother Anand. Please.
Yes, Anandan.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I have to thank Mohammad Ali Shukri for inviting me to this program. He's a very good friend of mine. He had been to Vellore and we became good friends. And it was a wonderful, great opportunity for me to see your session. I have seen many sessions in my career of Toastmasters. It was totally a beautiful, fantastic, great, amazing, awesome session. I think I've used up all the wonderful words. And hats off to all the speakers. My God, they were really too good to be true. They had the stuff. They had the power to narrate it. They had the flow. And it was really very, very useful. As a Toastmaster, I felt it was a wonderful session, a great formation, flow, timing. What a discipline of timing. The timer is, in fact, this is the first meeting I saw, they were really ahead of the timing, like 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before and all that. So as you said, the Toastmasters love to speak. Your club members love to speak, but also they respect time to a very, very great extent. And hats off to the time management. They are very, very clever people. And I'm really very happy that I spent so much of time and so much of valuable information got into my head. And I took most of the screenshots and passed it on to my ExCom members. And I think I have a lot to learn, lot to share, not only with my club, to my other clubs also. Thanks and kudos to every one of your club members. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brother Anandan, for coming here and all of whatever positive feedback that you gave us that would even encourage us even to strive to be even better than what you saw. And again, when you say being on time, see this gentleman on my right, I've been telling him, DTM Farhaz, please let me help you. He said, no, I'm okay with multitasking. I can do MC and I can do timing and I can do the agenda and I can. So all of what you see in here, majority of the things that you see is the work that DTM Farhaz put in here. So please, if you don't mind, just give him a round of applause.
Very, very hard work.
Yes.
Very hard work. Each and everyone has put on hard work, sincere, honest, and very dedicatedly. They have pre-planned it, planned it, and executed it very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There was one very active participant right throughout the meeting, and I would really love to see who she is and to listen to her and maybe ask her to say a few words. Toastmaster Sangeeta, she was asking lots of questions. She was participating in the chats. Ma'am, we really want to see you and maybe listen to you, maybe a few words from you, please.
Thank you so much. It was really amazing being here. And I'd like to share something very special. That Bahrain is home to me. I have grown up here. I have studied here. And being in this platform virtually is amazing. And the way you have conducted the meeting has been absolutely super. A lot of things learned and we will be implementing in our own club. And I think it's awesome. Thank you so much. Sincere appreciation for man, love to Bahrain. I miss Bahrain.
We all do. I'm also an ex-Bahrain resident. I left only recently. I still miss it every single day. Bahrain is a lovely place, and I share your views, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here. You were a live wire in the chat, so thank you so much for being such a great participant. Please feel free to visit our club, and also please extend invitations. We will be happy to join your club meetings as well.
Absolutely. And also, I link with Zara, and we will be in touch, surely.
Please do. Please, that will be great. There is one more person that I would like to, of course, Mr. President, with your permission, sorry. I would like to ask Toastmaster Lakshmi Narayan. He's been there from the beginning and he's still here. And I would like to see him and maybe let him share a few words with us as well, please. He was applauding, he was responding. Is he still around? I can see he's still there, but I don't know if he's just stepped out. He's been with us from the beginning of the meeting.
You scared him.
I think I did. Toastmaster Abhijit must have caused a conflict. Maybe we'll come back to him because he's been there from the beginning. I was observing. He was one of the first to log in, and he's been with us right throughout.
Abhijit has to resolve it.
Sorry, sir?
Abhijit has to resolve it.
Yeah, he's got to resolve it. We can't ignore it.
Not to really worry about that because he was the one who he reached out to me for membership. So I certainly couldn't have left him out. So I said, attend this meeting, see the best version of Toastmasters, how it happens outside India. And then probably we can discuss how we can take it forward. So he's a non-Toastmaster. I don't know whether he is there to hear me out. But a great passionate guy because the moment we have started interacting, he had a lot of questions, a lot of things, and he even chatted through me after this presentation, say that I thoroughly loved it, and one fine day I want to be in your position, delivering a session or something of this sort. So I think he's a very passionate guy. So that's all I can say about him as an individual.
Wish you all the best and wish him all the best as well. I hope he makes the right choice and joins you guys.
Maybe let's hear from our immediate past admin manager.
Yes, I was waiting to bring her on. Yes.
The encyclopedia of Toastmaster. That's what our immediate past presidents are.
And specialist in pigeon breeding.
I'm so happy that DTM Khalid is still not fed up of hearing from me.
No, not yet. Never.
What happened? Follow up. See, once I attended Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters meeting, live meeting, I think 2 years back, isn't it, DTM Farhas? I was there. In
You were
Bahrain.
there, yes. Yes, it was 2 years back.
2 years.
We had it in razor suits.
Yes, of course. And then I was the area director, and I was like, oh my God, these people have so much of patience just for the business session. They're spending so much of time. And I was like, when will this business session get over? When will they give me a break to go? And finally, I left the meeting without having me. And so because I was getting late for my flight, so I had to leave in between. And I'm so happy to see someone from District 120 to a district whom I'm very close to, Toastmaster Anandan. Yes, I'm a very good friend of, though I'm an unpaid member of District 120.
Okay.
And, the district trio is my very good friend Praveen, Satish Men, and all these people. I'm so happy that you're here in our District 20. And what else? Yes, I feel so happy meeting DTM Khalid, DTM Farhaz, all of you, though we couldn't meet in person, I'm so happy. Nothing else. I'll tell what all I want to tell in the next meeting. I don't want to tell everything now.
DTM Shilpa, I must tell you that this time, because we didn't have a physical DTAC, I missed eating those raw mangoes that you smuggled in from Kuwait last time. And by the way, yes, she's good at that. She also smuggled in some small lemongrass plants and she donated it to the Bahrain Toastmasters. Unfortunately, none of the other fellows knew how to look after it, but the ones she donated me are thriving.
And you mentioned I got a knife along with the mangoes.
Yeah, she had the knife in the and I don't know how she passed security. Toastmaster to be Lakshmi Narayan has actually put a note. He says, I am so sorry my mic is not working, but I am listening. Thank you so much, Abhijit, for such beautiful words. Thank you so much, Toastmaster to be Lakshmi. We would love to welcome you to this great global fraternity of, family of Toastmasters.
Definitely, definitely.
Me this lovely opportunity to once again. So it's been very long since I spoke my heart out. Even in my own club doesn't give me so much time to talk. But then once I start, I'll not stop. Then always DTM Khalid,
Thank
as
you.
president of this wonderful club, wishing to see this club reaches greater heights under your presidency.
Thank you so much.
Farhaz, I think the first time we met was through Pathways group, and now everyone knows about Pathways, so we need not teach them anything. Yes, thank you once again.
One thing you said about being the president of this club, trust me, being a president of Bahrain Advanced Toastmaster Club is much more harder than being the club growth director of the whole district.
Oh, believe me. You can ask DT and Zahara, she will tell you. She is the immediate past president. She's just happy she's no longer president.
I visited your club when DTM Ali Shahbaz was the president.
Yes, yes.
I had only one thought. I don't know what the speaker spoke. I was like, when will these guys give me a break? And the key was at the back of me. When give me a break? When will they give me a break? But because you people have so much of things to, forward to all other Toastmasters. And at that time, I'm sorry, I didn't take it seriously. All I was waiting was, it was very boring. But once I came back, when I told my members, they were like, didn't you take up the notes? I'm like, no, yeah, I did not take up. But yes, of course, hats off to the ExCom and wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much, sister. Thank you for being here with us. Let's hear from the recent DTM, who is very dear to our heart as well. And yes, he is now just nodded his head. I think he knows himself very well. DTM
like.
We can see you, DTM Akhlaq.
Thank you very much, Club Growth Director, DTM Khalid. And Farooq, of course, it's a wonderful meeting. I have been watching this and I have been learning that. And the good thing which the long discussion, good discussion, being part of the Bahrain Advanced Toastmasters, I have good memories with being part of that club many years ago, few years ago, I will say. I am thinking to go back to that family, inshallah. So where I will be joining you, I'm thinking that. That's what my plan is there. But the virtual meeting, of course, is giving me a lot of advantage to get access to the many Toastmasters within the country and out of the country, and of course, and a lot of information and knowledge. Today's presentation, so I missed first part of the distinguished Toastmaster Ali Shabazz because I was somewhere busy. But anyhow, these two were very informative, and especially the conflict resolution. That was a very informative for me. So that sometime I used to be stuck in these issues. He has given us good tips today. So I will try to follow this. As a whole, it's a wonderful, it was a learning, it was enjoyable. So I am sitting here just watching this, just to enjoy, just to learn. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. I salute you all for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother BTM Akhlaq, for being here with us. Our Vice President of Membership is a very nice guy, and he would immediately jump to you if he heard that you want to become a member of this club. But he is also a very religious person, so he must be praying by now, I feel. So maybe we would definitely love to have you in our club, and if you can maybe, well, I know your contact, so we would definitely contact you for the future events. So thank you so much for showing.
We know where he lives.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. So thank you so much for being here, Brother Akhlaq.
We have Toastmaster Renu Kamayel.
Yes, yes. Reynold? There is someone who is maybe shaving his beard or something.
I hope it's not a bomb threat alarm, you know. Sounds very ominous.
Yeah, I don't see Reynold around. Maybe DTM Abdul Nabi, he's been here patiently.
He's been here with us for a long time.
Yes, yes.
He's also one of the first people who joined our meeting.
Area 4 director, I think, if I'm not mistaken with the number.
Yes, yes, I'm here. I've been watching you very closely, and I've seen a lot of, yes, I was really excited and amazed with our professional, of course, senior presenters, you know, as and the theme is mentioned, all this gold. They are always gold because they were the candles, and they were giving all their life to the Toastmasters. And this was a very good opportunity to thank them, of course. And secondly, also, I would like to thank the Zoom, to be frank with you, that gives the Toastmasters the wings to be international. Without the Zoom, we would not have been known these beautiful faces and beautiful ladies or members from all around the world. Now it was very easy. And to be frank with you, Toastmasters, they were able to master you know, the Zoom and the platform of the Zoom in very short time. I can see, as our colleague from just a while ago, he said, you know, that he learned a lot, and he saw the proficiency of the people, that he could not believe that we as Bahrainis were able to master the platform of Zoom in a very short time. And I'm really happy, and of course I've learned a lot from the words which has been crossed by through all the presenters and through all the speakers and through all the commentators. No matter whoever will listen to you, he will benefit. Today he is gaining, and that is the purpose of the having such a wonderful meeting. We are always in the plus